Anyways, we're here, and Stephanie Rimka, Dr. Rimka, is here as well. And we were just kind of like talking a little bit. I not even sure how we got in contact, but I was traditionally trained, and chiropractics was something whatever that I didn't really consider. And so, once we kind of met speaking about a patient, and I've been reviewing her work, I just been totally enthralled because I did everything modern medicine's supposed to do. I took all the MS drugs. I worked my tail off. I took the ibuprofen and all the drugs. I did caffeine. I worked, and I did everything I was supposed to do. And I crashed and burned. And so what's interesting is as I recover, and hopefully I've shared a lot of my journey with you guys, like, yeah, I got the diet right. I'm eating the right foods. I'm making the right supplements. So I believe working out hard as I can. I'm doing pretty well, and I've made a lot of accomplishments, but wow, there's something missing. And that's where when I met Stephanie, that I'm like, all right, this is something. So I am just gonna speak a little bit about it, and then we're gonna bring her right on. But her accomplishments, which is interesting because she says in her practice, if you're looking for somebody with all these degrees on the wall and all these prestige and this and that, which she has all those, right? And she said she doesn't even wear shoes, which is awesome because it's a whole grounding thing. And so I'm just utterly impressed. I hope that I'm going to bring her on right now, but I just think that there she is. Hi, Stephanie. And let me see if we can get both of us on here together. So I'm just so excited to be able to talk to her, to be able to share, be able to share what she's learned and what's brought her in her professional life for us. Because I think that I know that eating and diet and exercise are great, but there's more. And I always talk about mind, body, spirit, but I don't know the spirit part, right, or the mindfulness part. So, hi, Stephanie. How are you tonight?
Hey, Ron. I'm good. I'm great, actually.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your practice, because you're even doing things that I wouldn't even consider a general chiropractor. I don't know if I consider you a chiropractor. I was kind of reading on your website and through our talks.
Right.
I would consider you just more of a healer. I don't know if that's accurate, but tell me a little bit about it.
Probably is. I think talking about yourself is hard. So
sure.
Your own bio is hard, and
right,
that kind of thing. But so I do have that degree, and I'll let you know. I am a lot of things. I'm trained in a lot of things, and I have my own personal resistance to the word healer. However, because I think it sounds arrogant, and
yes.
But really a healer is I'm just like a vessel that's there to allow kind of source energy to come through me. And sometimes that is going to manifest itself in something from my educated mind that I've been trained in, whether that's in the mental health field that I had training in and did, whether that's in the doctor of chiropractic that I have, whether that's in nutrition, whether that's in like nervous system stuff. I'm a board certified neurofeedback therapist. Is it the educated mind I have to attend to help you? Or is it something from my esoteric spiritual training, from Chinese meridian work, from pranic healing, from soul focused healing? So I do a lot of stuff on the body, off the body, imaging within the body, and kind of the journey of family members, really, people I've loved, and the illnesses that they've gotten has kind of forced me to research a different thing and then become good at it, and then research something else and become good at that. And then it just kind of keeps unfolding. But at the end of the day, they're all very brain-based because they're all emotional, behavioral, spiritual, mental kind of base things.
All right, so let's dive right in there, because you've said so much, and the most of the the folks watching this are either suffering from an autoimmune or know somebody that's suffering from an autoimmune. So how much of the mind affects or affects physical health and well-being?
Okay. Well, my educated opinion, as well as what goes into some of my background, various fields of training, again, which I can read labs and I can also feel your chakras. Okay. So I would say 100%. So for
100%.
all dis-ease, discomfort is an imbalance, is some kind of fracture in your spiritual connection.
Which is very interesting because this is confluent with, I just spoke with Dr. Ken Sherlin, a board certified neurologist, but also functional medicine. And his point to me was, yes, diet, great. Exercise, fantastic. But if you're not taking care of the other things, he says, he made it so clear to say that if you wanted just to come to me to get tests and the supplements, I won't see you because there's more to it. Right. And you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I have on my website, and it's the thing I used to say all the time, I'm like, I'm not your guru. I don't want to be your guru. I don't want you to come to me and like, I'm going to wave some magical wand and make everything better. And as many times as I've wanted that, these tough cases, I cry in my office almost every day from something. There's nothing like having a 7-year-old who hasn't spoken in 5 years to their parents, right? And that parent tells me the last word she ever said to me. It's heartbreaking every day what I do. I want a magic wand. However, if I had a magic wand, it would be a great disservice to that person and what they're supposed to be accepting and moving through and forward and embracing in their life, right? If I just eliminated that obstacle, that challenge for them to overcome, then we've lost an opportunity for spiritual growth and healing.
So that's a profound statement because I think we've been conditioned, right, by society. But there's a pill for an ill, and you do this, you do that, and you're going to be cured. Now it's either going to be stem cells, or it's going to be this supplement, or this drug, or that. But that's what I'm learning. Right? That's only it's a small part of the picture.
Right.
Okay,
well,
so
what it is, Ron, all those things, a supplement, a food, even sleep, all this stuff, it's just all an exchange of energy. Everything has a frequency. An emotion is just a frequency. So my body, all of this is just all frequency. And actually the frequency of all of this that you see is light. I slowed down light to the point that we can see the matter. Okay. So that every spiritual tradition goes through and talks about we're light beings and all this and all the everything, every esoteric person, every philosophy talks about this. And the actual physics do explain, I am a divine being of light, right? I'm from the same energy frequencies that are going all throughout this room. Some are just faster and slower than others. We have the speed of light and we have light slowed down to me. And we have light slowed down to dandelion roots and to avocado. And, and what do we do with light frequency that's been captured in the form of food matters. And our thoughts are nothing but a frequency resonance as well. So
just to back it up for people that don't have the training,
okay,
all life has been started with basically photosynthesis and turns light into energy, which turns energy into life. Correct? That's like this is the simplistic form of it.
Yeah, and everything I remember is a coupled system, right? So photosynthesis is taking light and turning it into a carbohydrate. Okay, we take that carbohydrate which is a captured light, and we transform it as well. We're also taking in light and transforming it. So kind of the old way we were taught was in biology, like the difference between a plant cell and an animal cell, like they go through that. One is round and one is square, and chloroplast and all that kind of stuff, and what makes you an animal or a plant. And a big one about the plant is that it can make food from light, but we cannot. Well, that's a lie. because our mitochondria do take light energy and they make energy from it. They are sensing light frequencies.
Absolutely.
Plants grab the bacteria and that's what makes their energy for them. We grab the bacteria and it makes energy for us. And it's a coupled system. So the plants and the mammals need each other to survive. They do this end of it, we do this. If they die, we die, we die, they die. You know, it's we need each other to make each other's food source.
So
but it's coming from light. And light is very powerful. It's not just light, you know, it's information.
So just to explain a little bit about mitochondria to folks, mitochondria, you know, is considered, I learned medically, right? That's a powerhouse of a cell, but it's actually run a symbiotic relationship. It's actually like almost a microorganism in its own, right?
It is. We learned wrong, right? We learned it wasn't organelle.
An organelle, correct.
It's not human. We got to remember that. It has its own entirely separate DNA.
It's crazy.
It's not human at all. They have their very distinct, and I guarantee you and I have very different mitochondrial DNA, which makes us function different. We have different needs of light and different needs of heat and different needs for food because where you came from and where from I came from. Not the human DNA. That is not as important. And everybody thinks that's where the money is. That is not the money shot. It's your mitochondria. And that's what Wahls is always talking about. She's just going up, she's approaching it and healing it with food and supplements and all, which is.
Yeah, her first book was Minding My Mitochondria. It was all about that. And she's still
all about it. It's running the show. That and the cell membrane, the outside cell membrane, I often call the outside cell membrane the brain of the cell. And then the mitochondria, I guess, they're all the brain, but it would probably be like your engine, casing, furnace, like what it's actually made of that's making it all power. Right.
So just to kind of go back a little bit, I mean, and how we began to talk, and I was so interested in your work, is, you know, when I read a book, right? If I read a book once, I see the surface message. If I read it twice, I see a different message. 3 times, now we got. So this is the way my journey with Wahls has been. It's been 3 or 4 years, and every time I come to a different level. And at first, it's easy for me to grasp, oh, this is what we don't eat. Then it was what we do eat. And then it was exercise and movement. And now I'm really becoming to understand, and even Ken Charlin talks about how we think, how we what goes on in here may even be more important than those.
I think it's the most important thing.
There you go.
However, it's a complicated process. So I don't want to be misinterpreted here and to tell I think it's really belittling what can happen in the positive affirmation kind of woo-woo world that I live in, that I'm part of, where we're just telling people, well, just feel good. Just have a positive thought. Just repeat this mantra. Why can't you smile? Yes. Right? I think that's so effing insulting to people who are suffering. I want to punch people in the face for telling something like that.
All right. This is where we're at. This is where we're all at. Probably everybody watching this is like,
yeah. I mean, it's
just meditate, just be happy, and it's going to all be good. Well, no, because it's all screwed up fair.
It's so right. There's a reason you're unable to do that in that space that you were in. There's a reason, right? I have focused a lot in my practice on where is it actually stuck in your neurology in your brain. You know, there's many other layers. And part of why I've chosen to go that way is because I am an American and I live in America and we're a very cerebral place. Correct. And lead with that story and do someone's brain map. We do QEEGs, I do electrical recordings of the brain, and we have like a whole imaging of what's going on with different electrical activity and brain waves and different parts of the brain that, you know, control different functions. So I can get an idea, is this, you know, I don't want to get too specific, but I can get an idea of what's going on, how to correct it. And is it nutrition is the best way to do it? Is it neurofeedback is the best way? Do I need to deal with sound? Do I need to say, oh, I need to send them to a vision therapist because the occipital part of their brain is totally dysfunctional and this kid probably can't see out of his left eye or whatever, right? So I've chosen that because Americans get it. And I have this very objective thing, you know, to show them, and I can change it through therapy. But at the end of the day, underneath all that, that's just captured um, experience. A brain map is showing me physical structure, chemical structure, emotional structure, and your psychosocial history of generations back, actually. That doesn't mean you look at a map and go, oh, this kid was traumatized at 8, this adult clearly traumatized around 8 years old. But we can certainly look, I mean, but you can kind of tell these things. You're like, this is really coming from this. Like their sleep problem is really more PTSD related. And how do we address that?
Post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, or if you have obsessive thinking, you ruminate on negative things. That's actually controlled in a part of your brain. We can look at it. Oh, you probably ruminate about negative things in the past, right? They go, yeah, how do you know that? I'm like, because it's right here. If I break that part up, you'll stop doing it.
Okay, so to put it in perspective,
willpower. Like willpower is overrated. Sometimes you can't do it.
uh-huh.
Traumatic brain injury. How the hell are you supposed to have like willpower to just be focused again?
And willpower can hurt you, no? I mean, I hurt myself with my like fantastic willpower, yay! But what's very interesting is you're talking, it just flashes in my head, and it's probably going to be pretty controversial. But now we're just investigating this whole new field of functional medicine, which is exactly what you just said, which is not new. This is
new at all.
Yeah,
it's so old news.
So like
you guys are just getting on board with what we've been saying for a really long time.
You told me that, and I was like, I was
frustrated. We are
rising. But I'm like, all right, she's right though. So because I'm living it, because it's easy. I guess trial by fire. I think one of your statements was like where you, what happened to you changed your thought process, and I think sometimes you need just a good kick in the butt to like, oh wait.
Oh, let me tell you, spirit will always win. Spirit is always telling you what to do. You are always being whispered to. And if you don't listen, you're going to get hit upside the head with a 2x4.
Yep, that's me.
My truck. It's up to you as to what you're doing and how are you staying in your body. You're staying connected to source. And that source energy can be whatever you want. I don't use the terms that are traditionally used. So it's like a Christian can hear me, a Muslim can hear me, as somebody, whatever, a Native American, spirit, universal intelligence. I'm more into the intelligence that's designed everything, that's embedded, that's kind of proven throughout quantum physics. There is a supreme intelligence woven in, and I can call it mathematics, quite frankly, that's driving things. And there's a synchronicity and a beauty to all of it. And it's stunning. It really is. And the reality is I just trust that very, very deeply. But it didn't happen overnight. It just didn't happen overnight. So like the mistakes you made, I'm like, be very generous and kind and loving with yourself, because you were just doing what you were trained to do, and you are different until something comes along to teach you something different. That's it. Everybody, it's like very kind and generous to the self. I think that's one of the most important things. We're not really taught to be kind and generous to yourself. You give yourself grace.
So break that down a little bit for us. Unpack it a little bit. Like kind and generous to yourself. Are you being aware? Like break that down just a little bit. That's a very popular statement. Be kind.
Okay, I guess it's kind of, and I'm not saying it's easy, but it's learning to talk to yourself the way you would talk to a child.
Okay.
That's one of the best ways I can, if I'll hear a patient talking about themselves, I'll reframe it to them and I'll talk like them. And especially if they have a kid, it works really, really well. I say, okay. So I'm going to pretend I'm saying this to your kid, Billy, right now. And I'm going to say it and reframe it that way. And they just have the stunned. I said, what would you do to me? He's like, I don't want to come across that table and rip your throat out. Right. That's what you're doing to yourself every day. So
you wouldn't fill your child with negative thoughts. You wouldn't point out all the things.
How do you talk to that kid?
Right. Why do we point? I'm always.
Maybe you just spilled the water. It's okay. It's no big. You can clean it up. It's fine. I still love you. Everything's okay. And even when they do something big and bad, you're like, ooh, that wasn't smart, honey. Yeah, that was a dumb choice, but I still love you and we're going to figure this out. You're going to be okay. This isn't catastrophic.
So most of the folks I speak with, most of the folks I speak to, they all have this guilt that they caused the disease, or the shame, or all the things they did wrong. That even Wahls talks about, don't get so caught up in a diet that you begin to beat yourself up over and over and over.
Right.
Interesting.
And your journey with it, like the idea of first thing I'm going to do is eliminate, and I'm going to focus on what I can't have.
Right.
Yeah. What can I have? And that's initially And again, I'm not a, Wahls practitioner. And in that case of MS, maybe a really smart way.
That makes it beautiful that you're not.
Anything that I do with food with people, and I tell every patient this, the very first thing I do is I don't eliminate anything. I always add to. Because nobody likes you taking their stuff. Who likes that, right? I'm not, I'm not taking a kid's pizza and chicken nuggets away the minute they walk in my office. I'm going to add to. I'm going to see what's missing, and can I get vegetables in there? Can I get broccoli? Can I get a salad? I start adding to. They all accept that much easier than me taking away. So as I build them up, as I nourish their cells, as I nourish their emotional state, as I nourish their esteem and their confidence and their ability to have hope again, that's typically all it is. I'm giving hope. That's the one thing I sell. That's the one thing I do. And if I can do that, I can do anything, So if I can, then we start eliminating, and it's easier because you're not starving physically, chemically, emotionally, and it's not such a big deal to give it up and take it away.
Well, the elephant in the room here
first.
Okay. The elephant in the room here with especially multiple sclerosis, and I'm sure other chronic diseases, the suicide rate is extremely, extremely high. I know a mother who had MS that told their son that they were going to Sweden and they wanted to have some quiet time. And she didn't go, so she went by herself and they all trusted her. Well, she didn't go to Sweden for quiet time. She went there to have assisted suicide. And I deal with this quite often. So what you're saying, it profoundly impacts me, because when we start to eliminate things, I think we start to blame ourselves. Like, you have this because you did this, or you have this because you start to take and internalize all this blame. Now, that's one of the things you're pointing to?
Yeah. So that's the double-edged sword of it's a real thing in the self-help movement or the esoteric kind of healing or natural functional medicine, where we're basically saying, yes, your frequency, what you attract, what you put out, you're going to attract. That is true. However, what happens a lot, especially with women, especially mothers, and that means I'm a bad person. I did this to myself. It's my karma. I'm being punished. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. The reality is, you can't, I deal with this, even with myself. So my son was born via an emergency C-section. I had a horrible pregnancy. It was very high risk. I wasn't supposed to make it. He definitely wasn't going to make it. I mean, it was just awful. Sickest time of my life. Very dangerous. And so he was born emergency C-section, okay? I know, because I understand natural childbirth, I understand what was supposed to happen to him, and that vaginal massage, what that was going to turn on in his brain, what needed to have happened to all this craniosacral system. I understand what he missed out on. I understand how he was put at risk. But at the end of the day, I don't feel guilty for one damn second, because he's alive. He was in NICU. I stayed long. We made it. And I have a beautiful 12-year-old boy now who does suffer from some issues that were related to the fact that was the kind of birth we dealt with. But it is what it is. I was supposed to have this child. He was supposed to be born that way.
Okay.
That's what happened. And how I respond to it and how I deal with it. But I have moms come in, and the guilt they're going through, and I'm like, this is not helpful. It is very wasteful emotion. Unless the guilt makes you change your behaviors, you hurt somebody. I hope your ass is guilty. I hope you feel bad enough to never do it again. Feel bad if you're going to do something about it, but feeling bad to lay around kind of as an excuse to not do anything is not acceptable to me. So I have gone through that guilt thing. I have been there. I let myself become dysfunctional. I've let myself lay in the bed and I don't want to be alive and I'm a worthless person. I have done all that rodeo, that stuff. And I realized in the day, it was my way of hiding out. Now, again, a big diagnosis, big chronic, health issue. It is completely normal to be hit. This is a massive hit that a person is going to be taking. It's a massive, bam, there's a semi-truck. MS is a semi-truck diagnosis, I would say, like a cancer or something else. It's a big one. It's not a little thing that you have to deal with. but I do get very nervous in the field. Like, yes, you create your frequency, yes, but you have to remember you were given all your unconscious scripts, right? Your brain, you were born with your brain, 75% was just given you from your parents, and all your unconscious scripts about life and how things, they were implanted in you by your 2 years old from your parents. You pick up everything unconsciously. You know, that's just how it is. That's just social psychology. That's just basic.
Sure.
There. Then if you want to get into the energetics of it, looking at how the DNA is going to hold on to generation after generation, and they've been showing that survivors of trauma, say the Holocaust, something like that, all of the kids for decades on are resonating those things. I have plenty of friends who are Jewish, who have parents who were in the Holocaust. They're completely triggered, like almost PTSD-like. It has been thrown into them. That's not their fault, right? Now, having insight and awareness and doing actions then to change it when you're aware of it, great. But if you don't have any insight or know what's going on, how are you supposed to be responsible for that? You didn't know taking a bunch of Tylenol and a bunch of caffeine and doing what you're doing was like really that bad. You know what I mean? You just didn't know it.
Of course not. Of course not.
And then you get taught. Now, plenty of people get taught and they ignore it. And then it's their own, you know, like, well, you know, it is what it is, right? Let's just talk about not the outliers and how do people kind of get over that. I think there's many techniques to kind of help people release these stuck emotions, these unhealthy, imbalanced emotions, because emotions are just, you know, it's called emotion. It's energy in motion. It's just, and people can get it trapped in their body. I love, you know, the exercise and have your wife work on you so much, even though you're not necessarily trying to go after rage from when you were 9 years old or something in the, you know, heart meridian and the acupuncture system or something. You're getting a lot of that work, a lot of somatic body release just by doing all that. I say you could get, you know, stronger with it if you went with some focused person who's actually going to work on where are their stuck emotions, really strong emotions that weren't allowed to be able to be processed. And I guarantee they're there, you know.
Okay. So this is really good. So take me a little bit in your office. A patient comes in and let's not get a specific scenario, but what's the first thing that you're thinking? I mean, how are you unpacking this? So how are you approaching the patient?
Oh, it's big. It's different for everybody, but in general, what I'm trying to do, it's really, I don't know how to see things in life except like this big picture gestalt. I'm just built that way. Okay. No matter how we look at my typing, my Myers-Briggs, my astrology signs, I'm into the know thyself. So I've learned what am I good at? And I just focus on what I'm good at, not what I'm not. And it took a long time for me to accept some of the things I'm good at because it sounded like, I don't know. We do a lot of picture taking. We do a lot of assessment. People come, it's 3 hours, my first visit. It's a little bit of time. Okay. Cognitive testing. I look at where sound goes in their brain. I look at their brainwave activity. We do some labs in the office first visit, and they sit with me for an hour. And that they're with me. I'm just telling you, Ron, I feel everything that is going on. That's my system. So I have a big brain.
So objective and subjective. You have objective tests, and then you have subjective feelings, emotions, understanding the patient as a whole.
Yeah, I'm also like a trained empath and intuitive. So in the end of the day, people will come to me, and it might take me a few visits. Sometimes it's really loud and I feel it. I'm looking at all this stuff, but the reason maybe somebody missed it is because I'll sit there and I'll feel it on my body and I'll see the rape. I'll feel it. I know it happened. And sometimes I'll know an age. Sometimes it's specific. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'll feel the gallstones. It'll be a start. I'm like, you have gallstones, right? And they're like, yeah. Or like, I'll touch them if they're on my table. I feel the cancer before they even know it sometimes. Sometimes, you miss it. But so I use my body. So my brain, the only reason I work on reading things, podcasts, all the time, all the stuff I do, all the stuff I know, I'm just, and I meditate every day and I do all this other stuff and I do spiritual retreats and chanting. All I'm trying to do is open my antenna. My brain is nothing but a receiver for information that's in the field.
So let's juxtapose this.
It's all in the field.
Let's juxtapose this to what me working in the hospital, I don't know, for 20 or 30, I can't even remember.
Right.
But so we have an administrator. The administrator is looking at the numbers at the end of the day, at the end of the week, the end of the month. You were given, I don't know, 15 minutes to run in the room, quick assess, and run out of the room and try not to get sued. So what you're talking about is, yeah,
I'm so sorry for you guys.
I
That's
mean, it's
horrible. It's
and it,
so horrible.
and you go home beaten, tired, and you got to do it the next day. So what you're
I think
talking
being a
about,
traditional physician of any sort right now is such a hard job. It's horrible. I'm not here to beat up
all
traditional.
right, good, because that's what a
Anyway,
lot of people are
I
like.
am so sad for them. I have friends, many friends who are physicians. I was having dinner with one in Hawaii recently, and he was telling me what he has to go through. He's so disgusted. He's like, "Let me tell you, Stephanie." He goes, he works on the worst patients, dialysis. The legs have been cut off, all the metabolic disorders. I'm not allowed to say, "Hey, you're fat. You need to change your diet." I go, "What? You can't say that?" He goes, "No, I'll get sued." Because I'm allowed 7 minutes. Insurance, boom, 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 7 minutes. You can't teach anybody a concept in 7. He literally, I was stunned. He goes, "Honestly, Stephanie," because I wish I was younger, I would do what you do. And I'm just too old now. It would cost me too much money to switch myself to functional medicine and do it now. He's like, because what I do when I go home is I get my parents off all their drugs, and everybody gets better when I get them off their drugs. But I'm not allowed to do that in the hospital. I was like, "You poor man." I mean, he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I can't actually help people anymore because it's a horrible job." He was revealing this to me that way.
Well, he's absolutely correct. I mean,
yeah.
I won't say where, but my wife and I moved to a town, and we worked with 200 multi-specialty offices. So I was oral surgery, dentistry. We had ENTs. We had orthopod. Like every kind of specialty was in this house.
Right.
And my wife and I laugh. We call it the Island of Misfits because all the doctors are broken. None of them were healthy. They weren't healthy, and they all felt guilty. I know it's very easy to demonize the pharmaceuticals, and perhaps warranted, but the doctors, I have never met a doctor that seemed to be out.
No, the people who are practicing, there's always going to be a bad apple somewhere, but in general, good people doing what you're trained to do. But if you're being deceived, lied to, manipulated throughout your education, that's a different story. This is the only tool you have, and you weren't told, well, there's 50 other tools and you could be putting in your toolbox. Then shame on the people educating and blocking all the other therapies that are out there to be helping people. Shame on them, not the man or the woman going to work every day trying to do the best that they can in the situation that they have to. And it's a tough system, and I think you're down to something like 12%, or it's either 7 or 14% or something like that, of physicians are left in private practice at this point. Like they're getting debt.
Oh no, it's a whole conspiracy.
It's really, really rough. And my doctors who refer to me,
corporate.
Yeah, it's all, and so boom, boom, boom. That's why the benzodiazepine prescriptions are going up. The opioids, they go, "What? I got 30 seconds to solve a problem." They go, it takes months to teach somebody a concept.
Serotonin, SSRIs.
So long to change somebody's behavior.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do, is change your behaviors to get real results. Everything is repetition, it's a pattern. You do that.
Are we trained that way?
Not the body pattern. You know what I mean? That's what happens. We're just an accumulation of what we do over and over again. I mean, that's all it is. But I'm going to go back to, and it's in the field. So I don't care if you have a tumor and you cut the damn thing out. If that tumor energy is still in your field, it's going to come back. And
okay, so
let's touch on your actions or whatever. But
let's touch on this real quick, because everybody believes. I hate to use the word everybody, but a lot of people believe the stem cells are the answers. But if you haven't changed the root cause, what's going to happen? I've had a doctor tell me that the specialized stem cells, like, yeah, if you don't change your root cause, great, you get the stem cells, you might feel better for a short time, but guess what? It's all coming back.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not opposed to a lot of these therapies and all these things. My best friend's son was dramatically helped by stem cell injections multiple times. He has cerebral palsy and a seizure disorder, and it's been miraculous. But she had to go to China and then to Panama, because you can't get it here, what he really needed, right? And, she watched blind people get their eyesight back right in front of her eyes. She's like, oh my God, it's a miracle what's happening. And why aren't we doing this in America? So I think there's a tremendous amount of promise. I don't think we need to poo-poo those therapies.
Not trying to.
But it's kind of like, is your field or is the vessel ready to receive it and implement those changes or not?
I try to communicate to folks that now, right after trial by fire, that there is no magic bullet, and and all those things may have some merit. I'm not poo-pooing anything,
right?
But I'd be the first in line. But let's get things right for it. Even Wahls will say, you do A, B, and C right, but if you're not doing what you're saying,
right,
the healing's not going to come.
Right. Because even looking for the magic bullet, again, we were all trained in it. Again, I grew up the same world that you did, and I just started breaking that philosophy and thinking a lot sooner than you. Long time ago, being trained by people who thought differently, right? So it's, I don't know, Ron, it's a tough.
No, you're doing a great job.
Go through, it's, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I know I got distracted by something too.
No, I got 5 kids.
I got it. People coming. Yeah, I was like,
coming over, and I see them walking by the window. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna take maybe another 15 minutes here, but I guess we could begin to talk about, and maybe there isn't a simple way to summarize this, but advice to somebody going through a chronic disease. I mean, diet, exercise, I'm sure you'll agree with.
It depends, actually. I mean, it depends, honestly. They may not be my top 2 things.
May not be your top 2. And Dr. Charlene said that as well. May not.
Yeah, I know that's not, to me, the end all be all.
So that's a magic bullet too, then. Now we're like, all right, we just do this and do that, and now we're good.
Yeah. Again, the magic bullet concept, if you're thinking and still looking for that, you're actually still being trapped in your victimhood.
The pill for an ill kind of idea in a different form.
And that's something like, because I'm going to find this thing and I'm not really in charge of what this is in my
Correct. Yeah.
And maybe the lesson is, and again, I'm not saying not to do things and to change yourself. Maybe the lesson is in the resistance and the fighting what it is versus the accepting and embracing. And that can be really hard. I remember a lesson 25 years ago. I don't know, I was in chiropractic school at a conference, like a 6-week training camp that, all these chiropractors were going to. And we had to do a lot of stuff in silence. It was pretty intense. We were out in Durango, Colorado, and we did a biking thing. And so I had to mountain bike up a freaking mountain in Durango, and I'm not a biker. And broken my back, and I'd had a lot of back pain, and I was always trying to rehab myself and I was a little nervous about a lot of these physical challenges we were going to be doing over 6 days. And my back spasm and severe pain. I was, again, paralyzed for a while. I thought, this is it. I'm done. I'm going out in a wheelchair for sure. I'm done. Screaming with like 100 doctors pinning me down. I could feel nothing. It went on and on and on and on. Well, eventually, again, very powerful spiritual moment for me on this mountain. But in the gist of it, when we got back and the people were sharing, and I'm like, oh God, I'm not sharing anything about that whole experience. And the other people were talking about it. And the trainer there was trying to teach me, a doctor, one of my mentors, from 30 years ago, whatever. He's like, Stephanie, the reality is this is going to stop when I was fighting. I was like, I'm going to take this out. I'm going to do, I was real aggressive, right? He's like, when you can learn to embrace and be grateful for this pain. Grateful for this pain. I'm like, this ended my career, I'm like 23 years old going, what? Right? Well, over the years and everything, I'm like, oh my God, I get it. Right? Like the difference of when you can be grateful, the minute you're grateful for one of the worst things that ever happens to you, that is your moment of enlightenment. That's what I'm looking for. It's astounding when you see that in front of you.
I'm a bit thick, and there was a period where I was moving from another part of the state to this part of the state, and my wife lived here, and so I didn't have nothing to do, but I could go drink with the guys. That wasn't going to happen. So I ended up like living with some monks, and they taught me a lot of things, but 2 things. they taught me that one, if you could do something so stupid, so ignorant as to step into the pain, you might find the magic.
Right.
And then the other thing is I was home alone and I flipped over my four-wheeler and I wasn't even doing anything cool. I was just cutting the lawn and I got stuck. Yeah, right. And I don't even have a cool story about it.
Right.
And the gas is dripping on me and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm going to die this way. This really stinks. Like, this is not even like, and I finally got out of it. My leg was all screwed up. And first thing I did, I don't know, I went to the monks and I'm telling them like, oh my God, this happened. And the monk told me this one of the old, I mean, these guys like been doing this forever. And they're like, oh, we crave that. I'm like, what are you talking about? We crave that. He goes, yeah, when you're utterly helpless, you're awake. And I'm like, what? And so I've been thinking about that for like 5 years. I'm like, those two statements. If you could be so stupid as to step into the pain, you might find the magic. And we crave being helpless because then you're awake. I'm like, okay. And maybe that's what you said about the spiritual side, constantly whacking me in the back of the head to like wake up.
Because it's interesting that you're thinking about it instead of trying to be in it. You're still using your brain too much. You think in your brain.
Yes.
Saying it's not. The brain is just an antenna, Ron. That's it. All the information is in it. They've actually cut the whole brain apart so tremendously. They can't. Memory really is. Rats still remember to do everything after you destroyed their brain completely. They still went through the damn maze. I mean, it's a whole study. You can read about it. So the point is.
No, I understand. I understand.
It's all out here. And again, from all the, I'm going to get like really out there. So like say, psychics, people who are psychic and stuff. And so what people would say is, well, what are they doing? They're just picking up what's in the field. They just can read what's in the field that you're unaware of because they're so tuned in. There's a bunch of angels and guides that are around me right now. Tons of them. Some people can see them. And my job is to try and be open to, what are you telling me? Can you please tell me? So, my higher self is always on the top of a mountain. My higher self always sees the entire, landscape, the valleys, the hills, the mountaintops. It knows exactly what's coming. And it's always trying to tell me what to do. But am I connected to my higher self or not? Because if I'm down in the valley, if I'm down there trying to figure out, do I go left? Do I go right? Do I stop? Do I go backwards? If I go to my higher self and just be like, okay, well, can you tell me what I'm supposed to be doing? Can you see if this a good way or bad way? And then I'll know. So it's that whisper of, I just knew, or I've had a feeling. I just knew I needed to, whatever. You know what I mean? People with their careers, with love. Lots of people have those moments every now and then. Some people have them throughout their day. But usually you have trained yourself to be connected to that higher self so you can make better decisions. But if you're not, people go to people, to like a psychic or somebody to like, can you answer this question? Can you see up there and tell me, should I take the job or not take the job? Is this partner good for me or not good for me? How I do with my illness or not? Does that make sense? And so you're still thinking too much. That's my suggestion. Is like there's a lot of thinking going on. And what I kind of do in my office with technology is quiet the parts of your brain that think.
Yes.
Activate the parts of the brain that can be empty.
So that whole concept is so abstract to us because we're looking for that magic supplement. We're looking for do this, do that. Give me the sheet of paper that says A, B, C, D, and I'm going to follow it, and it's all going to be better. But there's not, and so that's so hard for us to stomach.
It's non-linear. People want everything to be linear.
Non-linear.
Healing is completely non-linear, and the brain is really more of a holographic kind of three-dimensional, bizarre, psychotropic thing that's happening. Dream states, non-reality. Nobody knows what the hell's actually going on up there. And it doesn't know the difference between me imagining something and me doing something. It has zero understanding of the difference. So that person with MS who is in that wheelchair and going through that, your brain does not know the difference if you sit around and practice walking in your mind or if you do it in real life. And by visualizing yourself doing that, you will start to regrow things around making you able to walk. And studies have actually shown that. I do a lot of stuff where I don't actually work out and people look at that and I'm like, what do you do? I just visualize working out and I can make my muscles stronger. I can change my body shape and lose body fat by simply visualizing it twice a week for 15, 20 minutes.
You know, we've been proving that in oral surgery. If let's say I damage the lingual nerve and they can't feel the side of the tongue. So we have them practice. We look in the mirror, have them look in the mirror and touch the side they could feel, excuse me, and touch the side they can't feel. Now they can't feel that, but you're fooling them.
Totally. That's how we get rid of phantom limb pain and veterans and stuff. Use the mirror. It's your brain does not know the difference. So there's not, like you said, you can't control. It's like being guilty for what happened. Shit, it happened. Okay, right. Now what are we going to do about it, right? And you can't control a lot of stuff once it's done, but how you are with it. But controlling your thoughts, I think, is harder than a lot of things than like controlling your breath.
So the idea that the past is the past and the future is this illusion that it just set the fear, which doesn't exist because we can't predict the fact. I mean,
no, right.
I guess in the few minutes we have left.
I love watching your brain think. Actually, like watching you think. It's really cute.
You're turning my brain big time because you can't see behind me, but it's full of books. And I was always a book research guy. And if it was
meditate? Do you meditate though?
For the last 2 days I have. For the last 2 days, all right? But I'm not good at it. I do 3 minutes.
Let me tell you the easy way. Let me tell you the easy way.
Because Okay.
I couldn't meditate either for like 15 years, okay? Because we're really smart, we're really cerebral, we're really successful, aggressive, competitive.
Mind is racing.
Competitive people. So for methylation people, that's how we are. It makes us successful, whatever. Okay. But it can make you a little bit too much, a little bit too extra, and also can lead to a lot of chronic depression and never feeling good enough, okay, when you're like that. Because the bar for us is we just move it. It's like, well, that was a big deal. Next bar, next bar, next bar. You just never
get it. Absolutely. Yeah,
that's an undermethylator. Let me just tell you, you just need some methionine or something. But you're eating all the right foods. You're eating the liver and everything will be fine. Your body's working it out. So one of the easiest ways I think for people to start is it's called focus concentration meditation. Don't sit there and try to have no thoughts. Don't try to be empty. Have something to focus on. And some people, the common one, I don't like it, I think it's boring, is counting your breath or counting to 100, right? And then just keep recycling that. It's so boring. So do it. Chanting, right? So listen, this is what I do. So I use lots of malas. I don't have any on me right now. But so the Tibetan method or Indian, kind of methods, and Catholics with the rosary. And
as the priest told me, they said, we do the rosary for what? God doesn't need our prayers, but
it's a focus. It makes it a focus concentration meditation. That's what it's doing. It's giving you something to focus on. Yeah,
settles the monkey mind.
Yeah. So actually where you hold it actually is a Chinese meridian point that actually does settle your brain. There's science behind all these ancient techniques. They knew what they were doing. So the reason it in that certain way on that second finger on that point, it goes to the part of the brain and it calms you down and helps upload your alpha. It helps put a brake on all the thinking that you don't have. So you do, and you focus on something. And it's usually a mantra, right? And it can be in English, it can be whatever. I go with Sanskrit. I have Indian heritage, and Sanskrit's, it's the resonant sound actually creates and changes my environment. So the chant that I say completely changes the field. And so if I want to work on breaking obstacles, I work on something. If I want to work on abundance, whether it's money or health, I say something different. And there's different chants. You can Google all of that. It's not a big deal. Or you can just say something like Amen over by moving a bead, taking a breath. I only have one English mantra and one of my beads that I use, and it says, I choose to be the hero in my own life. I say that over and over again. I choose to be the hero in my own life.
Guys, this isn't as profound as it seems. Dr. Wahls, if you were at the last seminar, in the middle of the seminar, she's like, I got to go. Like, yeah. What do you mean you got to go? She went to go meditate. She just needed to get her energy back.
It changes your brain completely. It takes 11 hours of meditation to physically change the structure of your brain, mapped out, proven on an MRI. 11 hours is nothing. That's 20 days. It's like 30 days. Or you go to a weekend meditation retreat and blow it out, but it's a really simple way to do 15, 20 minutes of repeating a mantra, and you have a little thing in your hand that so you get the ability to have motion, and you get the ability to either sing it or speak it. And you can also do it silently, but it gives you something to focus on. So when I'm singing a chant and, sitting, eyes closed, doing this, and the best time is when you wake up or go to bed, because you're right in that crossover point where your alpha and your theta waves in your brain are in this dream state, and a lot of stuff downloads. Your creativity is highest then, your memory recall is highest then. You're not in that external focusing, you're in an inward processing, your brain waves are slower. That's when you want to do it. And it takes time though. What the problem that people have everywhere, especially in our country, is they don't have patience. I want to meditate 3 days and I'm suddenly happy. No, dude, it's going to take discipline, because we're rewiring your brain. To create a new way a functional network is going to move, it's going to take a tremendous amount of repetition. Give it 30 days. I tell you, if you give me 15, 20 minutes of you repeating a chant or something, focus concentration that you like, for 30 days in a row, you're going to feel very different. Very, very different. And then you got to continue though. I mean, that's the thing. Just keep doing it. It's like yoga or something, or exercise. Like, why? Don't stop for what? It's really doesn't take much time. But people make it be something. I think the sitting, it's not about not having a thought. And sometimes when I'm doing that, a thought can come in, but in general, I can get completely lost in that rhythm. And a meditation can happen. My sister completely is meditating when she chops vegetables when she's cooking. That repetitive action, she's completely lost, has no stress, has no thoughts, and feels so grounded because she's increasing her alpha like crazy. Knitting can be meditative. Walking can be meditation, walking a labyrinth, so walking a sacred spiral. It doesn't have to be the traditional way somebody does it, but it's some type of repetitive motion can make you lose yourself, and you can, when people get really skilled at it, most of the day they're walking around in a meditative state. And that's what I try to do. I'm not saying I'm always doing it, but the majority of time, if I prepare my day right while I'm working, I'm in a meditative state, so I can hear what I need to hear to help that person before me. My stuff is, I'm just like an empty vessel. Like, I'm a nothing when I'm working. I'm just there for stuff to be said. Sometimes I'll say stuff, people say, well, oh my God, and they start crying. What did you just say? I'm like, I have no idea. What did I just say? Something just came out of my mouth. What did I say?
I can understand that. I would put x-rays up on the screen, and the patient was like right behind me, and he's waiting for me, or she's waiting for me to come up with this grandiose explanation. And I would look at the screen. I'm like, you have no effing idea what and then I would just kind of to God or whatever it is, and let him work through me. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And I would be able to, I would just spout out whatever.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to take you too much longer. I know people don't have an hour to watch, and this is totally an impossible question for you, but if you had like you just explain in 2 minutes, like, this is going back to the magic pill, but what is the cookbook, or maybe better, like, what would you approach first? Let's say if you were me, or you're somebody like me.
Well,
I mean,
no, I mean, nature. I would say I would go back to natural hygiene, natural ways of living in nature. We're paying a very big price for the convenience and comfort of the way we live.
Okay.
Very big price. And I love convenience, and I love comfort, and I love things and technology, but we can't keep pretending and putting our heads in the sand that it isn't also killing us.
So, for example, staring at this 12 hours a day, staring, then going from this to the computer, then going this from the TV. I watch my kids walk around with headphones in, totally disconnected from themselves. So you would say to reconnect.
To me, it's nature, nature, nature. Electricity. I think the idea of a smart house is the dumbest idea on earth. I would get rid of as much of all that, as much electronics going out of the house, as much of Wi-Fi gone. The non-native electromagnetic frequencies, which is what all those things are radiating. The earth is radiating an electromagnetic frequency that trains the human brain into the alpha wave that I keep talking about. The big problem is everybody is walking around with very low alpha for the majority part. Again, high alpha is pain disorders and other things. But in general, alpha is being entrained so incorrectly because we are so disconnected from earth. It is the earth makes every mammal's brain, it's controlling what it's doing and what peak frequency it should be in. And then from there, all the other frequencies are kind of generating where it needs to be. The alpha is the essence of being. It's the power of now. That's alpha. It's just consciousness. It's not daydreaming. It's not thinking. It's just boom. And then what? That's never respected in American culture, but you get it from the earth. And it's coming from the sun. The way the sun interacts, the solar flares with our ionosphere creates the magnetic charge, the electromagnetic pulsing off the earth, which makes these brainwaves, which entrains us into being calm or not. Well, all the cell towers, Wi-Fi, all the electronic satellites, it's disrupting the earth's ability to communicate with us. So that's huge in and of itself. But I know when I was a kid, right, 45, so in the 70s, whatever, you know, we had a TV with like 7 channels and, you know, and nobody had, there were no Wi-Fi. There was very few satellites because we didn't even have cable. I didn't even have a VCR until God knows when, because we were poor. So we're outside at the crack of dawn. We were outside before we shouldn't even been outside. You know,
I'm with you.
Neighbors would call, like, you know, Stephanie's down here, you know, like outside all the time, barefoot all the time, playing in mud all the time. Nobody was disinfecting your hands. Nobody was freaking out about, drink water from the hose. You know,
yes.
All you had to do was get home by the time the street lights went on. Okay.
Yes. This is my
and the street lights back then, though, were all incandescent. The lights in your home were all incandescent. We had a fireplace. We used it all the time. You know, now kids are being just bombarded and destroyed with the non-native EMF that's coming off of all the electronics, all the hardwiring in your house, and all the type of lighting that's been changed. So the lighting is ruining everybody. The non-native EMF is ruining everybody. And the fact that nobody's allowed to be outside and run around. Like, there's kids in my neighborhood, they're never outside. My son has nobody to play with because they're doing homework like at night.
So
you know, everyone's afraid of everything, even though, you know, abduction rates are exactly the same as they were in 1975, but everybody, because of the news, are panicking, thinking, you know, crime is so bad. No, it's not.
Insanity.
It's not, actually. So everyone is letting their kids just play video games and sit in the house, and it's leading to a whole host of sleeping disorders, metabolic disorders, you know, diabetes and obesity, neurological disorders, mental health, the anxiety, ADHD, depression.
Right. So we're living longer.
Being created. We're making it in our bodies this way because we are disconnected from nature and earth and the normal rhythms of life. None of this crap exists in these tribal cultures. None of it. They don't have any of this.
I have family in deep north, and my cousin just came down for a few days in the, like, deep north, like 10 hours north of the border in the middle of nowhere. It was the most pristine, beautiful area. But she came to tell me it was every other person. Oh, this person's got cancer. This person's got multiple sclerosis. This guy's got rheumatoid. It was like, it would be quicker to name all the people that didn't have a disease. And I'm like, well, how is that possible? And it's exactly what you're saying. They live in the middle of nowhere, but it's their lives are ruined. We live longer as a culture, but we've never been sicker, right?
It's actually not even that much longer. It's on average, it's only 6 years longer that we lived 100 years ago. That's not winning. 6 years.
Yeah.
And then what's the quality of life? They weren't all these progressive chronic degenerative diseases 100 years ago.
Yes.
It's only 6 years. So it's a fallacy. It's not really like, oh, we live longer. No, we don't.
It's sad and it's scary.
You know, and you're living that in a nursing home, locked up, you know, like on
strapped to a bed and a machine.
Like, you know, so nature would be the way, looking at basically like what is natural and what is not. I mean, like, and I'm not living in a hut, you know.
Wahls says the same thing. If it wasn't around 200 years ago, I don't want nothing to do with it.
I'm trying to get out of the city of Atlanta because they're starting 5G here, the whole, like, that network. I don't want it. And they've been testing it. And I'm telling you, my patients, the suicidal thinking has been off the charts in the last 2 weeks from the flares and from the 5G. I'm not happy. I'm trying to get out of here. People are emotional wrecks. You know, like, I'm totally emotional. I mean, which is nothing, fine. I mean, I'm okay to have my emotions. Emotions are powerful and it's amazing, but it's been uncomfortable, you know, because it is vibrating your cells and shaking them up, ripping them apart, disrupting all your biochemistry, disrupting your brainwave ability to function and communicate, and my antenna, like, as to what I'm feeling and I'm able to pick up from the field.
I mean, this is really awesome. I'm going to keep you for another couple minutes because, I mean, how come well, I guess I probably know the answer to this, but we don't know this. I don't know this. It wasn't until you directed me towards Cruz and Peskin and these other folks that I'm like, wow, like this is either like totally crazy or this is really
Right.
real. And the more I study it, and I'm like, wow, they
Yeah.
know what they're
Well,
talking
keeping
about.
you dumb and stupid makes you easy to control.
Fluoride. I used to
Yeah.
write
I
fluoride
mean,
like crazy. Ah,
if
boy,
you have a
boy.
bunch of enlightened, conscious people walking around, they're going to not let a lot of horrible, bad things happen. And they're going to, you know what I mean? Truth
Oh,
tellers
I know
get
exactly what you
hurt. Truth
I know
tellers are getting
exactly.
hurt left and right now.
Oh
But
yeah.
everyone's waking up. There's an awakening. It's happening. It's done. I'm telling you, the feminine energy is coming in. The spiritual overtaking of this planet is happening. And you're just seeing a lot of chaos at the way that some of the structures are dying down. And we just have to keep ourselves surviving and thriving through that and help as many people as we can that are in discomfort. And
Totally agree.
I'm
Totally
there
agree.
with you on that, but that's where how I see it.
No, I totally agree with you. And it has taken me a lot of pain, a lot of crying, spitting in tears, to actually to start to come to terms with this. And I just don't like to see other people having to go through
Right.
what I'm going through and what I've been through. And Mircola, Cruz, Chandri. I mean, I can just name a list. I mean, this is
Right.
not abstract as we all think.
No,
The
no.
real
It's
deal.
not. It's really back in science. You just aren't being trained to think that way. People are being trained to think that they're a victim to their biology, they're a victim to their DNA. You couldn't have done anything about it. You can't do anything about it now. I'm going to swear it's a bullshit story and it pisses me off and you're being lied to. It,
So this whole idea of epigenetics is not something
yeah,
new.
no,
This is what you're
yeah,
talking about. This is what
yeah,
you've been talking.
yeah.
All right. Last thing? It almost sounds so difficult to me, and perhaps I make it more difficult because I'm trying to grasp it better. But I suppose maybe that folks need somebody to guide them a bit. I mean, somebody like you. I mean, if they wanted to have, I could look you up, of course, but let's say they live in, we have people from Singapore, we have people from Australia. Well, what are they looking for? Who would they find? Who would they?
I don't know. I mean, I do work with people all over the place, but I do love I mean, I like virtual. I do a lot of virtual stuff and I'm moving my practice even more that way, but there's something to definitely be said in the healing power of being with a person and having them touch you and hug you. And, like there's a lot to that. I hug my people. They tell you you're not supposed to do that, but I hug them. I love them. It is what we do. I'm fighting for them. I cry with them. I'm going to do, you know what I mean? Like they're my family. So, you can start, it's tough, and I don't really know exactly. I mean, there's your functional medicine websites, but like even that, I don't trust those because a lot of people, they're given a B12 shot and saying they do functional medicine. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
And they're just
I
going to hand out the meds like it's candy and they just give B12 shots. So now they have the
it
holistic.
might be controversial, but it is this a movement where people, I did a lot of mission work, and I had to leave the group because it was what I called poverty tourism, and I kind of
Oh,
feel the
yeah.
same way about disease. I think people are
Yeah.
capitalizing on disease,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It hurts my brain
Yeah.
because I think people could
Well, there's
just
some of that. And I just say, like running a functional practice and the cost. I know, like, so those of us who do it, and there's lots of doctors, and they can go to my website, they can go to my Facebook pages. I can rattle off some names. We can maybe put them in the link comments. I could put a bunch of people like pages
thank you.
that are going to inform you. But I'm a huge fan of tribal traditions. So, like, shamanism in many different forms, Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, these things have been around at least 5,000 years, the books and stuff.
Yes,
We've
far
been here
long.
for millions of years, so that
How
people have
long
been
is
doing this stuff.
how long has modern medicine been around? Less than 100
Right.
years now.
Right. Like it's
Yeah,
so new, it knows nothing. And the
right.
problem comes in the arrogance of thinking we know everything. And I think if people can get to the point where it's like, you don't even know what you don't know. So like
You don't even know
the
what you
people
don't.
who are not feeling hope, wait a minute, you don't even know what you don't know. Like
Correct.
so much stuff out there to help you, you just don't know it. And I'm a really big look to other countries. America does not have all the answers. What Israel doing, what Germany is doing, what Russia does. This is some breaking crazy stuff. You know, Jimmy Carter cured his cancer. Where did he do it? Israel. He went over.
Because our infant mortality rating in the U.S. is
We're
pitiful.
the worst. Yeah, I know. It's like
It's
we're so unhealthy. It's
we're
the
worse than a
worst.
third world
I don't know why
country.
people, and again, nothing against the doctor, but I don't know why people trust a doctor here. I'm like, you guys, we're not good at this. I mean, a neurosurgeon is good. A cardiovascular thoracic surgeon is going to be good. An orthopedic surgeon is going to be good. I'm just telling you because they all stay on top of it. Those kinds of doctors are so competitive and wanting to publish. Like you get in an accident, I don't have to do surgery on me.
Yeah, I came to the same conclusion. Work with all the doctors. If we're talking about trauma medicine, we're top of the world. But if we're talking about basic health, I don't know where we are.
We weren't taught that. See, I went to school, my 4 years of grad school, I was taught, how do you make somebody healthy? That's not what you're taught. That's not what they're taught. Because I don't have to learn about the drugs. I don't have to learn about all the diagnosing. It's a waste of my time. What is normal physiology? What is normal function? How do we get it normal?
We have to have you come back because there's like millions of questions. I'm sorry, everybody, but I've been so in tune to what she's saying. I haven't had a chance, but perhaps we'll answer some of these in the notes after. Tell me your website because I want people to read. I was just the website's beautiful, but more than that, like the things you were saying really, really resonated with me. So what is your website?
It's Brain and Body Solutions.
Brain and Body.
Or you can, my name, StephanieRimka.com. I have
they're
all going to redirect. So Brain and Body Solutions is the name of my practice. Dr. Rimka will get you there. Variations of my name will get you.
Okay.
And it's very information heavy. I've written a book. I try to put as much out there for free that I possibly can because my favorite client is an educated person. The more educated you are, the more informed you are, the faster we're going to crush this thing. If I've got to convince you, and in general, I just don't take I don't have time for it. I'm too busy to take people who are going to fight me. I'm like, if that's what you want to do, I'm sorry, go move on because I don't have time because this other person next to you, I have to research for them and figure their stuff out. And I'm going to,
Ken Charlin, he said the exact same thing to me off the camera. He says some people just don't want to be empowered, and I can't.
Some people don't want to get better. That's a hard thing for us to deal with, but that's the fact. I can't have a Jesus complex trying to save everybody, and that's one of the hardest things to learn and practice. And you have to be taught from other people telling you that, like, you got to stop. You cannot save everybody, and that's But I've meditated my way through that most of the time.
Well, the monks told me this. They said all people become enlightened just hopefully before they die. And so God bless you for what you're saying, and we just need out of the box thinkers like you, and we need direction. Wahls has done a fantastic job. But
I show her videos to more patients like all the time. Again, she's a massive inspiration. She's a total like rock star hero to everyone who's doing anything outside of the field. And something I say, and I'm not necessarily, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing I use her lecture and I show people, and I use this as a way of trying to inspire them and give them some hope because they're on their hopelessness. And I'm like, at the end of the day, so here was this woman practicing. So she's a physician, she's married, she's got her kids, she's doing her life. She had what would probably be called the worst thing that ever happened to her. And it was the best thing that ever happened to her. Turned into a freaking rock star. Turned her into the best out there. She's got a whole new career, wrote all these books, lecturing, inspiring people, is finding a way to stop and change the entire course in a direction for people. I go, this is the best thing that ever happened to her and everybody else she knows. Now,
so people like me
get there, but like,
so people like me didactically want to look in and say, all right, A, B, and C, we do this, we eat liver, we do that. Wait, I'm not getting 100% better. But she profoundly states that it's not just that. She says, find your blessing, get this right. And it's hard for me to look at it and understand that. And I know a lot of people viewing this will feel that way too, but you look at her, like really listen to her lectures, like really listen. She goes there. Her books, it goes there. So,
and I'm telling you, a way to accelerate what she's doing is talking about, her spiritual acceptance of what is, and not fighting what is. It's accepting what is. And as minute you stop fighting, the fight stops and everything changes. And I
I
think
didn't.
one of the fastest way to do that is with nature, to be honest, on a mountaintop, on an ocean, whatever. But and I just happen to use technology in my office. I help people's brains do it with technology. But you can go off on a, down to Peru and go do a shamanistic retreat for a few weeks or a few months, and you're going to detox, and a whole lot of things are going to happen. You're going to be connected to your spiritual self in ways you've never imagined. You can do drum circles. You can do, there's a million ways to kind of get there. Daily meditation, daily prayer, all of those things too. I just use a lot of technology to kind of hijack the parts of the brain that help you get there, the spiritual parts that can help you be present. And so you can make the meditation work. So you can let go of the rumination. You can let go of the anger, the volatility that's, underlying that. That's what, the kind of stuff we do in my office,
So just a neat story. Two things I'll tell you, and then I'm going to give you the last word. When I met Wahls at the seminar, and she had been seeing my videos and all that, I didn't want to be a geek and run up to her and all that
I
stuff.
know,
But I did.
would.
At the end of the day, I went up to her and she looked at me and goes, and she didn't even like really talk to me much. She said, "We do what we could do, and that's all we could do." And I was like, wow, all right, that it's like a while to sink in. Like I'm kind of thick, so it takes a while to sink in. But that was rather profound, and I was going to make a statement about the monks. Okay, and so I used to go to the monastery, right, and it was so peaceful. And so I used to tell the older monk, and he was probably 75, maybe a little senile. He'd been a monk for 50 years. And so I said, well, I got to get back to the monastery to get peace. He goes, no, peace is not here. The peace is here.
Right.
And I'm like, what? So,
right.
But finish up, give us your last word. I'd love to have you back because people are all about this. And I think this is just profoundly, simply, but necessary.
I'll look at the questions, I'll try to get to that, tomorrow or Sunday or whatever, see if I can answer stuff, or we can do it. I'm a horrible typer person, you guys, so the spelling problems or whatever, but I'm fast and I just, whatever.
I'm a horrible speller.
I don't know, closing words, something that piggyback on what you just said. Interesting. One of my mentors who trained me a long time ago in therapy and being an empath and stuff. And it really helped me like with the judgment on myself and then for judging other people. Okay. And she goes, at the end of the day, this is where I'm at when I look at everybody. I'm like, everybody is truly doing the best they can. And I know that. So I need to meet them where they are. I'm doing the best I can. You're doing the best you can. Every patient before me is doing the best they can. So there is no need to criticize, judge, shame, anything. It's like, okay, I want to meet you where you are. And the trick is that I think in practice is to believe in somebody to the point I'm going to hold the intention for them until they can hold it for themselves. Okay, so my intention has to be so strong in their healing and what I see them going, because I know they're down here and I've got to see them up here. And I'm like, I know you don't even believe it yet, do you? They're like, nope. Like, oh, it's okay. I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you with intention. However, I will never work harder than you to be well. And I used to do that, and it about broke me in practice. And I had mentors above me come in and stop and say, you need to stop right now because this is kill you, right? You're going to end up in a bed real soon. And I'm like, oh, so I can't transmute the energy for them. I can't work harder than you, but I will hold your hand. I will hold it and pull it and keep there, to be your anchor until you can get out of that lost hopelessness, that victimhood. And we have to work that out many ways, you guys. Like I'm telling, there's so many different ways. You have all these things in your unconscious mind that you don't even know are driving your decisions. If there's a reason you're overwhelmed with changing your diet and it's too emotionally stressful, why? And it's maybe just something that's been put in there, the way you have some beliefs about food, and this is about what you deserve, and this was your way you connected to your grandmother. So now if you can't have this, you don't have the love from her. We can rewrite that. That can go away. And it doesn't take a lot of talk therapy or a whole bunch of whatever. There's all kinds of different techniques that can help you break up the tape recorder that's saying these old things that are just outdated and not working for you. And again, I guarantee you, if you have some big health crisis, you have a whole bunch of that got you there. It's not your fault. You didn't know about it. Now we just got to move along and get rid of those things to make changing your behavior easier. And it becomes something you enjoy doing. It's not, there's no burden to it anymore. It's just like, oh, of course I do this.
Deepak Chopra said it's an invitation to healing. This is just a wake up call. This is, you're blessed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Rimka.
You're welcome.
You know,
I hope it was helpful. I mean, you know,
oh my God. Beyond, you exceeded my expectations. I'm sure everybody watching, because we just need to hear this stuff. We need to step out of our comfort zone. We need to find the true healing, and the true healing may not be out there, maybe in here,
exactly.
In, you know?
It's that. That's it. It really is. It really, really is. You are the genius. You are the guru. You are the healer. It's all there. We're just here to point you along. Doctor, actually, the word in Latin means teacher. That's what that's what we really are trained to do. How can I help you navigate? How can I be, you know, your higher self, your oversoul, until you get connected and just, okay, let me just move you along. I know you thought you were doing the right thing. Let me just tell you it wasn't. Let me move you here. Okay, now let me move you back here. Just keep you on the path, move you along. I'm like, you good? Like, I like everybody graduate, you know, hug mama, see you later, have a good life, you know?
I love this.
I want you to need me. I want you to need yourself and go. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be that hard. You know, like, you have a painful lesson, but like playing and playfulness and joy along the journey. I don't care if you need to watch the most, you know, inappropriate thing on Netflix that's so didn't like it to make you laugh, please. You know what I mean? You got to start playing a little bit.
We could talk for hours. We talk about the vagus nerve. We could talk about how we stimulate.
God,
yeah. My God, I just know my wife's gonna kill me. And I and I know, and I'm not taking any more of your time, because we just, I'm telling you, we just go on and on and on. It's so awesome. You know, I just can't thank you enough. And we got to do this again. And we're gonna like break some stuff down and like really let's dive in. Now we got the superficial part. You know, if we can ask you for your time in the future. But guys, check out our website. Awesome. Her stories, the things, I don't know. I've been, you know, before these interviews, I like to like do research so I actually could kind of go in knowing, but you know, just so impressed. And I just can't thank you enough.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you, Ron.
You have a good night.
This is one of the best things ever. I mean, and the woman that, you're right, I met you because I called you to get help from you with her. And, you know, I'm just going to do it for her. But I told her, I said, guess what? And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, so see, your diagnosis is bringing people together and helping us help more people. And she's doing great in my office. And, you know, so everything happens for a reason. And how that woman ended up in my office was a former patient, was an Uber driver. You know what? See, that Uber driver, I was supposed to come here because she told me. I mean, so when you can start seeing the synchronicity, there's no
coincidences. Oh my God. Yeah.
See, synchronicity, everything. Everything's there, and you're supposed to be there, supposed to be connected. And it's like, do you say yes or do you say no? I'm about finding yes everywhere I can. Yes. Right?
Awesome, doctor.
It's yes to pain. Sometimes it's yes to a diagnosis. It's like, yes, okay, let's do it.
Step into it. So abstract, but so simple.
Start meditating. That's my challenge to you. We got to like just slow it down and bring it here, and then it'll make more sense. I got to make this a huge antenna for you.
God bless you, Doc. All right. I know people love it. I loved it. My wife's watching the other room, so she's just so anxious for me to like move on and like end this, and not necessarily disease, but end my mental struggle. So, you know, I guess that definition of healing could be many different things. Thank you. You have a great night.
You too. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.